So in mid-February, we're getting the balance pass inside of Destiny. Today I'm going to break down what we know about this update initially, but also I want to talk about what these changes could potentially be and list a few standout things which may be altered in this update. So first, we know that in mid-February we're going to receive this update. The patch will come in the form of hotfix 2.5.2, and the details of what's changing will be fully revealed to us in a live stream from Bungie before mid-February. Now, in Bungie's words, the basics of what they want to achieve are listed as follows, and we'll speculate as to what these changes could be as well. So firstly, they want to promote alternatives and counters to shotguns. This is kind of simple. They want other special weapons in the game to be more appealing than they currently are. They don't want a situation where snipers become the only good special weapon, for example. They want shotguns to be a possible selection when you pick your loadout, with perhaps less penalization if you decide, hey, I'm going to use a fusion rifle or a sidearm or something. So as Bungie said a couple of weeks back, the goal is not to nerf shotguns into the ground. While we may see some changes to shotguns in the patch, it seems more likely that the focus will be on making other weapons compete, which is interesting. Personally, I think sidearms, fusion rifles and snipers are all pretty good right now. Snipers do suffer a lot more from flinch these days, but if you think about it, it's the shotgun that kind of stands out, right? Not only because the Matador is strong, but also because both verticality and fast horizontal movements are so key in the game, and the single best weapon for effectively damaging from the air or in close range in particular is of course a shotgun. So it'll be interesting to see how they tackle the problem, but now let's move on to the next point. So they say they want to align the potency of primary weapons with surgical changes. Now, what they're saying here, to me at least, is that we're going to get some minor tuning changes to weapons, perhaps small damage buffs or nerfs, or maybe some changes to certain perks like high caliber rounds or intrinsic weapon properties, for example. Overall, I think they're trying to bring primary weapons closer to each other in terms of effectiveness. It doesn't look like we're going to see blanket buffs to primaries, and I try not to sound fickle when I say this, because despite a lot of players wanting primaries to be the main engagement type, or the whole buff primaries argument, it is a whole vast, complicated thing to look at and change in the game. Of course, I'm not a game developer, but I find it difficult that Bungie could say, right, we're going to blanket buff primary weapons by 3 or 5%. You know, I don't think it really works like that. The time to kill on weapons could change drastically on one archetype and not change at all on another if this happened, so it would require a vast amount of redesign, which just isn't likely to happen at this point. Why am I saying this? Well, I think we need to be realistic about what's possible or what Bungie are going to be able to deliver at this point. I think a lot of the reworking of things will be, Destiny 2 stuff, honestly. For now though, I would personally also like to see the effects of things like high caliber rounds on pulse rifles either reduced or maybe even some of the flinch effects toned down on pulse rifles full stop, because right now it's just obnoxious. I get the idea behind it, but like Bloom with hand cannons, the effect itself is just too strong, and in the case of pulse rifles, it's often not a time to kill thing, but it's a kind of engageability thing. If you're using an alternate primary like a hand cannon, hitting your shots when you're being flinched can become just far too difficult, and I feel like a sizable part of why pulse rifles are so effective is not only their damage, but this flinch factor as well. So perhaps reducing the flinch itself would encourage the use of other primaries. I don't feel equipped to say nerf or buff this and that, but I do feel like with a lot of weapons, damage isn't necessarily the entirety of the problem. Moving on, they say they want to file down a few issues with each class. I think these are most likely to be small changes to certain elements of certain subclasses. It's hard to say for sure, but perhaps they will target things like the Stormcaller's melee. Now, before I say anything else, I don't have a huge problem with this. I'm not hating on Warlocks or anything like that, but I think it wouldn't be too wild to reduce the potential range of the Stormcaller melee. It is a fantastic part of the class, but in some situations, it could be potentially a little bit unfair. Of course, whether Bungie think this as well, we just can't say. Next though, Striker Titan lightning grenades. A lot of players talk about these. The spread and range that they have is pretty damn good, and they do a lot of damage as well. When you consider the change to tripmine grenades last year, maybe we'll see some changes to lightning grenades. I don't necessarily think the damage is a big problem, but perhaps more the spread and range that they have. Other possibilities include perhaps changes to Juggernaut, and that could be pretty interesting if they make any changes to shotguns as well. We'll have to wait and see, but it seems like there will be indeed at least some small changes to these kind of potential issues, which we talk about in the community a lot right now. Bungie's next point talks about fixing issues with a sampler platter of exotics. Now this will most likely refer to weapons, but it's a very difficult one to guess at because there are a bunch of lackluster exotics right now. If you were asking me, I'd like to see Hawkmoon looked at, Red Death, and probably quite a few others, but most issues with exotics are kind of archetypal or trail from the base stats of the weapon, so perhaps some buffs will come into play, but this one truly is anybody's guess at this point. Finally, one of the really interesting points that they mention is a possible change to the special ammo economy. Now, we've seen special ammo spawn timers and things like that change before. Maybe they will tackle the use of specials versus primaries by outright reducing special ammo again, or perhaps they'll look at changing carried ammo capacity for shotguns, perhaps, or even just a change in the effect of, carried ammo bonuses on armor and things like that. My guess, though, would be a possible change to shotgun ammo in particular. Maybe reducing special inventory across, special weapons in general could be good, because in some cases you'll find yourself being steamrolled by shotguns with no defense and you can't actually get any special at that point in time. So if they reduced ammo carry capacity, it could potentially help end these situations faster. I don't necessarily see this being a huge nerf, but I think we could see some of the changes I've spoken about, or perhaps these special ammo changes will be kind of directed more towards shotguns. Again, for now it's not confirmed, but it's interesting to pick things out which might be changed, and I really want to hear your opinions down below, guys. What are your biggest complaints in the game, and what are your hopes for changes in this coming update? I look forward to reading your comments, but if you have enjoyed this video, a like below is super appreciated. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe, and if you want to see more content, switch those notifications on with the bell next to the subscribe button and you'll never miss a trick. But there you go, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. For now, whatever you get up to, you have a great day.